Welcome to today's Explainer. Today, we're doing something a little different. We're taking math right off the chalkboard and bringing it directly into the real world. We aren't just solving equations today. We're hunting for hidden meaning. We're going to explore how quadratic functions connect to the physical world around us, and honestly, more importantly, how understanding them connects to our greater purpose. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. First up, purpose in the numbers. Then, finding the zero. The jumping frog, rockets and break-even points, a quick test your skills section, and finally, wisdom and peace. Section 1, purpose in the numbers. Why math matters.
So there's this quote, "Teach us to number our days, that we may gain a heart of wisdom." Now, it is incredibly easy to sit in a math class and view what you're doing as just pushing meaningless numbers around on a page, right? It can feel totally abstract and completely disconnected from daily life. But the reality, math is literally the hidden language of the universe. I want you to really think about that idea from Psalm 90 as we do our calculations today. In math, just like in life, numbers have profound significance. When we find a solution to an equation, what we call a zero, that zero represents a highly meaningful point in time or space. Just like every single day of your life has a distinct purpose and specific timing in a greater plan, every mathematical solution we calculate today holds a specific real-world purpose. We aren't just doing math, we are interpreting reality.
Moving right along to Section 2, finding the zero, the heart of the equation.
Let's establish exactly what we're looking for here. When we solve a quadratic equation, the solutions are the specific x values where the graph touches or crosses the x-axis. In the math world, we call these zeros, roots, or solutions. But what does that actually mean when you step outside the classroom? Well, think about engineers designing a roller coaster. They use these exact zero moments to calculate safe launch speeds and stop times. Or architects, they use them to calculate tension to ensure bridges don't, collapse. In the real world, these zeros tell a vivid story. They represent an event. They tell us exactly when an action starts, when it completely stops, when a falling object finally hits the ground, or when a struggling business hits a critical turning point. It's the moment the value is zero, and that specific moment is packed with absolutely crucial information.
Now here is where things get really interesting, because we can't just blindly calculate. We have to interpret. Think about the pure math world for a second. In this world, all numerical solutions are totally valid. If you solve an equation and get a negative number, the math says, great, perfectly valid answer. But contrast that with the real world. If we're calculating how long a toy rocket has been flying in the air, getting a solution of -3 minutes makes absolutely no sense. Unless our toy rocket is somehow magically capable of time travel, we can't have negative time. This really highlights the absurdity of ignoring real-world context. We have to decide which mathematical solution actually makes sense in the physical environment we're studying.
All right, Section 3, the jumping frog, quadratic functions in nature.
Picture this. Imagine a frog jumping off a rock. The height of that frog in feet, after a certain number of seconds, which we'll just call t, is given by the function h of t equals -16t squared plus 32t. If we want to know exactly when the frog lands, we want to know when its height is 0. Step 1, we set the whole equation to 0. Step 2, we factor it out. Let's think of this like a giant puzzle. Both terms in the equation share a 16 and a t. If we cleanly pull out a -16t, what are we left with? Well, we get -16t multiplied by the quantity of t minus 2 equals 0. For this statement to be true, step 3 tells us either t equals 0 or t equals 2. So we have two mathematical answers, 0 and 2. How do we interpret them in the real world? Well, picture the arc of the jump in your mind. The moment where t equals 0 is the exact moment of suspense right before the leap. The frog's height is 0 simply because it hasn't left the ground yet. Then it pushes off, reaching the peak of its jump before gravity inevitably pulls it back down. And the 2? That tells us the frog hits the ground exactly 2 seconds after it leaps. And this brilliantly illustrates how we can use a quadratic equation to perfectly track and time a biological event in nature. Let's look at Section 4, rockets and break-even points, physics and business. You know, nature and physics actually obey the exact same mathematical rules. Let's launch a toy rocket. Its height is modeled by the equation h of t equals -5t squared plus 30t. Following the exact same logic we used with the frog, step 1, we set the height to 0 to find out when it lands. Step 2, we factor out a -5t, leaving us with -5t multiplied by the quantity of t minus 6 equals 0. Our two mathematical solutions are 0 and 6. Therefore, step 3, interpreting the real-world event, we know the rocket hits the ground precisely 6 seconds after launch. Knowing that 6-second mark is pretty vital. It tells us exactly when to look out so the falling rocket doesn't land on our heads.
But this tool doesn't stop at physics. It's just as powerful in business. In the business world, finding the zero helps you identify your break-even point. Think about starting a summer lawn mowing business, or maybe a side hustle selling customized sneakers. You have to buy supplies first, right? That causes a lot of anxiety, because you're losing money up front just to get started. The break-even point is the exact moment where your profit is finally zero. You haven't made any extra money yet, but you finally paid off all your supplies and you haven't lost any money either. It is a massive relief. It's the tipping point. Let's say a company's profit is modeled by the equation P of x equals negative 2x squared plus 12x.
How do we find out when they break even? Step 1, we set that profit equation, P of x, to 0. Step 2, we factor the equation, pulling out a negative 2x. We get negative 2x multiplied by the quantity of x minus 6 equals 0. The zeros here are x equals 0 and x equals 6. Step 3, we interpret this. The company breaks even when they sell 0 products. Well, yeah, of course they do. At 0 products, there's no hustle, no risk, and no reward. But the other 0 is what truly matters. They also break even when they sell exactly 6 products. At 6 products, their hard work is finally paying off. Their initial costs and their new revenue perfectly balance out to 0, meaning every single product they sell after number 6 is pure profit. The math suddenly feels very alive.
Moving into section 5, test your skills, homework time. So the crucial point is, now it's your turn to be the interpreter. Go ahead and pause this explainer for a moment. Your mission isn't just to find the math solution, but to uncover the real-world story behind it. Take a moment to write down the 5 equations we have for you. For each one, you need to set the equation to 0, factor it, just like we did together, and most importantly, write down the real-world interpretation of what that 0 means. Whether it's an object hitting the ground or a business finding its break-even point, your challenge is to turn those numbers into actual, meaningful insights.
And finally, section 6, wisdom and peace, the ultimate why.
As we reflect on what we've learned today, I want to share the core philosophy of the Heroes Smart Academy's Godly Learners series. Education without biblical morality will hurt. Think about it. Tools, whether they're physical tools like hammers or mental frameworks like quadratic equations, are incredibly powerful, but a tool can be used to build a beautiful house, or it can be used to tear one down. In this lesson, you've learned how to turn abstract numbers into powerful insights. You're gaining valuable knowledge. But acquiring tools and intelligence without the moral grounding of good character? That's dangerous. Character matters just as much as computation. Knowledge without wisdom ultimately leads to harm.
This is exactly why we anchor our learning in deeper truths. The anxiety we often feel, whether it's about a difficult math test or a major life decision, usually comes from a sense of chaos. Finding the 0 in math brings a deeply satisfying sense of order and meaning to seemingly random numbers. In the exact same way, Romans 8:6-7 promises peace of mind to everyone who keeps their mind spiritual. When you pair an expanding intellect with a spiritually grounded mindset, you bring lasting order to the chaos of life. The result isn't just intelligence, the result is true peace.
So what is the point of being smart and supposedly educated if you continue to make bad choices that hurt yourself and others? We've learned to interpret the zeros in our equations today to find hidden meaning. As you leave this explainer, I challenge you to interpret the meaning in your own choices. Seek wisdom, find your purpose, and I'll see you in the next explainer.